A chimpanzee spends roughly 6 hours a day chewing, not eating, specifically chewing, grinding tough raw plant material into something small enough to swallow and digest. Humans, eating a cooked meal, typically spend under an hour a day on the same task. Something happened at some point in our evolutionary past that freed up hours of every single day, hours that used to be spent simply breaking food down with our own teeth. That single shift in daily time budget, from hours of chewing to minutes of eating, ranks among the most underrated turning points in the entire story of human evolution. So here's the real question. What changed, and just how much did that change end up shaping the rest of human evolution? Raw food, however nutritious it might look, is genuinely difficult for the human body to process. Plant cell walls are tough and fibrous, meat is dense and chewy, and extracting usable calories from either requires extensive chewing and a long, energy-intensive digestive process. Other great apes handle this by dedicating enormous portions of their day to chewing and digesting, and by maintaining a much larger gut relative to their body size than humans have. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer and ape diets suggest that maintaining a raw food lifestyle at anything close to human brain size would require finding and consuming an almost impossibly large quantity of raw food every single day, likely more hours of feeding than daylight would even allow. For a species evolving toward a larger, more energy-hungry brain, that raw food lifestyle presented a genuine problem. Brains are extraordinarily expensive tissue to run, and there's only so much usable energy a raw diet, chewed and digested the old way, can realistically supply. Cooking solves this problem directly, at a chemical level. Heat breaks down tough plant cell walls, releasing nutrients that would otherwise pass through largely unused. Heat also denatures proteins in meat, unraveling their tightly wound structure and making them dramatically easier for digestive enzymes to break apart. In controlled studies, cooked food has been shown to yield significantly more usable calories than the exact same food eaten raw, sometimes as much as 30% more from identical ingredients. This effect is especially dramatic with starchy foods like tubers and roots, staples strongly associated with early human diets. Raw starch is largely indigestible without heat, while cooked starch becomes one of the most efficient, calorie-dense foods available in the natural world. Cooking, in other words, isn't just about taste or safety. It's a form of external, pre-digestion, using fire to do part of the metabolic work that would otherwise fall entirely on the stomach and intestines. Before we continue, if this kind of question is the kind of thing you enjoy thinking about, consider subscribing and sharing this with someone who'd find it interesting too. Now let's keep going. This connects to one of the more elegant ideas in human evolution, sometimes called the expensive tissue hypothesis. Both brains and digestive systems are metabolically costly to maintain, and the theory proposes that as the human gut shrank, freed from needing to process large volumes of raw, hard-to-digest food, the energy that gut once required became available to support a rapidly growing brain instead. And the anatomical evidence backs this up. Compared to other primates of similar body size, humans have a notably smaller gut and a notably larger brain. Roughly the opposite proportion you'd expect if diet and brain size had nothing to do with each other. This trade-off likely didn't happen instantly. Researchers generally view it as a gradual feedback loop. Slightly easier access to calories allowed for slightly more energy to go toward brain tissue, which in turn may have supported better tool use and food preparation, further easing the burden on digestion, reinforcing the cycle across many generations. The fossil record adds another layer to this story. Around the time Homo erectus appears, roughly 1.8 million years ago, the skeleton shows a striking set of anatomical changes. Smaller teeth, a lighter jaw, and skeletal evidence consistent with a notably smaller gut than earlier human ancestors. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham has argued these changes line up closely with the timing cooking would predict, even in cases where direct archaeological fire evidence from that exact period remains genuinely difficult to confirm. Some researchers have proposed alternative explanations for these same anatomical changes, including a shift toward eating more meat generally, cooked or not, which also requires less chewing than tough plant fiber. The debate remains genuinely open, and it's likely that several overlapping dietary shifts, not cooking alone, contributed to the changes seen in the fossil record. Not every researcher agrees on the precise timeline, but the anatomical shift itself is remarkably clear and well documented. Direct physical evidence of controlled fire use is harder to pin down, but it does exist. At Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, archaeologists have found burned bone fragments and ash dated to roughly 1 million years ago, among the oldest widely accepted evidence of controlled fire use by early humans anywhere in the world. Earlier possible fire evidence has been proposed at other sites, though it remains more contested among researchers. Determining exactly how early and how widespread fire use became is complicated by the simple fact that ash and charcoal don't preserve well over hundreds of thousands of years, meaning the true origin of cooking could realistically be even older than the clearest physical evidence currently allows researchers to confirm. What's clear is that by the time fully modern Homo sapiens emerged, controlled fire and cooking were already a deeply established part of daily human life, not a late addition, but a foundation. Cooking changed more than digestion. All those newly freed hours, no longer spent chewing tough raw food for most of the day, opened space for other activities entirely: tool making, socializing, teaching, and simply resting. Cooking also naturally created something almost every human culture still practices today: the shared meal. Preparing food over a fire took time and often benefited from cooperation, turning eating from a solitary, constant, grazing activity into a scheduled, social event built around a shared fire. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies still observe this exact pattern today. Cooking fires function as natural social hubs where information, stories, and relationships are exchanged just as much as food, a dynamic that may stretch back well over 1 million years. In a very real sense, the modern dinner table has a direct evolutionary ancestor: a small group of early humans gathered around flames waiting together for food to finish cooking. So why did ancient humans start cooking food? Not for flavor, not at first. Cooking solved a genuine metabolic problem. Unlocking calories raw food simply couldn't provide, and very possibly helped make room, quite literally, for the brain capable of eventually asking this exact question. The next time you sit down to a cooked meal, you're not just eating dinner. You're participating in a habit that may have helped build the very brain doing the eating. Every campfire, every kitchen, every dinner table traces its lineage back to that same evolutionary bargain: trade time and effort at the fire for time and energy everywhere else, not to give you answers, to reveal the paradox. Every question has a story. Welcome to human mystery.